Thanks for joining me again this week. I'd like to discuss two items that come from the Planning Board and before the Council now. The first is moving much more quickly and is getting less attention. That is the Growth and Infrastructure Policy, sometimes referred to as the GIP, GIP. When I was on the Council, this was called the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance. The name has been changed several times, and in this case, the name actually matters because it clearly stated in the old days that growth policy had to be tied to a commitment to provide adequate public facilities, schools, roads, transportation, and the subsequent different names severed the link between adequate facilities and development. It was subsequently called the Subdivision Staging Policy, and before that it was the Growth Policy. Regardless of its name, it is a tool that comes from the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance. It is supposed to be a tool to make sure that development is accompanied by adequate infrastructure. In other words, so that as the county grows, the roads and schools are adequate to support the increased development. One of the myths tied to the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance and being foisted by some people was that it was designed to block development. It did cause moratoriums on development at times because the Planning Board and the Council refused to fund and provide adequate public facilities, so it failed the tests. Moratoriums could have been lifted any time the Council committed to building infrastructure. It is not moratoriums that are the problem, it is the ongoing refusal of previous councils to provide the infrastructure our residents need and deserve. Throughout this progression of name changes, the key feature is the reduction of standards considered adequate, affecting infrastructure in general, and particularly transportation and schools. Had infrastructure needs been addressed, there would have been no moratoriums. Those costs were supposed to be paid by development. The companies were expected to pay their fair share and not put the burden for improved roads and better stormwater solutions solely offloaded on the residents. Without paying their fair share, one of two things happen. The cost gets shifted to the residents in the form of taxes, or the infrastructure simply doesn't get built and it leaves us with inadequate schools and transportation. Every 4 years, the Planning Board and the Council review and approve a new growth policy and accompanying legislation. And 5 times since 2013, the Planning Board and Council have reduced the amount of revenue available for providing adequate public facilities. I want to clarify that it is not this Council that's cut the revenues, but now this Council has an opportunity to stop undermining the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance and to stop shifting costs to residents. The Planning Board has sent the Council a growth and infrastructure policy that again reduces revenues that are needed desperately to provide adequate transportation and infrastructure. I agree that the current mechanism, impact taxes, are not the right tool for raising the revenue to pay for adequate facilities. But what I'm urging the Council to do is do no harm. That is, do not further reduce the revenue until there is an alternative mechanism in place. For years, I've been proposing some version of special taxing districts similar to what Virginia has, which could have replaced impact taxes. But the Planning Board continues to recommend reducing impact taxes without a replacement revenue source. I offered to meet with the Planning Board Chair and his staff while they were developing the policy over the summer. They refused. While I acknowledge that they do recommend a future study to replace revenues, they should not further reduce revenues until we have a plan in place to replace them. I'm hopeful that the Council will put the brakes on the Planning Board's misguided approach with growth and infrastructure policy. The second item I'm concerned about is gaining much more attention. That is the attainable housing strategies. The Council has held a series of listening sessions around the county, and I think they heard a lot of concern from residents all around the county. The Planning Board approved this plan that would rezone 82% of the single-family zones in the county. At its core, this is unnecessary. Unlike some places in the country and in nearby jurisdictions, we're not a city that's been fully built out, where their only choice is to rezone existing property. Our master plans have enough zone capacity to house more people than are projected to come here through 2050. Not everybody can say that. The region can accommodate the anticipated growth or capacity with some adjustments to zoning. Our existing master plans address the growth needs of this county for the next 30 years and longer. This plan also does not address the affordable issue we have here. Though they've talked about affordability and people think the park and planning is talking about affordability, This is actually not true. People have different ideas of what we mean when we're talking about affordability. Some think it's about home ownership, some think we're only talking about renters and tenant issues. Unfortunately, this plan does not help with ownership or with renting. In fact, the Planning Board has acknowledged that this plan is not about affordability in its own report. Additionally, in a study from 3 years ago, the Planning Board regarding Silver Spring concluded that new townhouses on existing single-family lots would cost between $700,000 and $855,000. They're actually more than that now. The average income of Black and Hispanic residents in this county is about $75,000. Those homes are not affordable to our communities of color. They're not affordable to many people, particularly young people coming out of college and looking for their first place to live in Montgomery County. In fact, they are facing possible displacement with this proposal. More recently, a townhome in Bethesda was sold for $3.6 million. It was built on a lot that previously had one single-family home. Now it has 3 townhomes. While it does make the homes down the street that sell for $1.5 million to $2 million look less expensive, it does nothing to address affordability. That $2 million home is still out of reach for many people. And the home that was bought to yield these $3.6 million properties was sold to the developer for $1.6 million. You figure out what the profit is. Second, people need to have clear notice of the Attainable Housing Initiative. These large turnouts reflect only a small percentage of who is affected, and if it were to pass as currently proposed, these residents would not have any say in the process because development would be by right. Most people had no idea that the bulk of single-family communities in the county could be rezoned if the Planning Board's recommendations are wholly adopted. The Council President has said there's no legislation scheduled for the Council. However, this proposal has been sent to the Council and it's with them now for review, and they added these meetings with the public before they actually take it up on the Council, so it is actually in front of them. Third, the planning proposal is premature. It is based on theory, not on solid plans based on real-world assessments. This plan undoes most of the master plans. Through the master plan process, which affords an opportunity for residents to weigh in and for careful review of impacts on neighborhoods, the community, and the infrastructure. They didn't get that opportunity, which brings me to my fourth point, adequate infrastructure and environmental consequences. There have been no studies on AHI's impact on the environment. What will happen to the trees? Will there be an increase in imperviousness or paved surfaces? And what will that mean for potential flooding? With climate change, our neighborhoods are already facing increased flooding and overflowing storm drains. Additionally, what will the impact be on the infrastructure? What about parking for all additional residents? And they do generally have cars. There is no study of transportation adequacy or schools and the environmental protections that are needed. This is tied to growth, infrastructure, and policy that I mentioned. We need the adequate infrastructure to accompany development, yet there is no evaluation of what we need and what it's going to cost. When the Council passed the Planning Board created Thrive policy, the county government had to provide cost estimates as part of our review. Those estimates were in the billions of dollars, far beyond our normal spend. But alarmingly, the Planning Board chair and a council member dismissed the study by simply saying, "We don't believe it." No analysis, no study done by them, just we don't believe it. And that was the end of the subject. So much for meaningful planning. Attainable housing is a massive undertaking of rezoning 82% of the single-family residential housing, affecting 164,000 current homes. Currently, there's no analysis of unintended consequences. We all agree that housing affordability is a major concern, both for people wanting to become homeowners and people who are renters. Unfortunately, this proposal does nothing to help them and threatens to damage our beautiful and diverse county. But I do want to take a moment to talk about some of what we're doing to address housing affordability, something the Planning Board apparently isn't interested in. Last week, we welcomed Maryland Secretary of Housing and Community Development, Jake Day, to Montgomery County. We showed him some of what we're doing here. We visited the newly opened Leggett in Silver Spring, a mixed-income development for seniors adjacent to our new aquatic center. We showed him the art space development a few blocks away that offers both ownership and rental units and was designed and developed in collaboration with the community. We also showed him the project on Randolph Road and Bushy Drive, that the county is doing that will include opportunities for low-income ownership as well as rental and new development in Bethesda with easy access to Metro with family-sized units, 3 bedrooms, which we rarely get, and available to a large range of incomes from 30 to 80% of the area median income. We also showed Secretary Day one of the newest projects, HOC's Hillendale Gateway in East County. This will be an all-electric, mixed-use and mixed-income development. And it was a complicated project that involved HOC, the Montgomery County Green Bank, and private investors. Because of this collaboration, 54% of the units will be affordable to families earning between 30 and 80% of the area median income. Those are not all the projects we're supporting. We closed 2 loans in the first quarter of FY25 with development partners that will produce 334 affordable apartments, Amber Commons in Gaithersburg, and the Montori site in North Bethesda. For the remainder of FY25, we anticipate closing loans for several other developments in our pipeline, and that will produce an additional 1,424 affordable units for a total of 1,758 affordable units for the year. For context, in the FY24, we closed 17 projects that produced or preserved 1,133 affordable units. In FY23, we closed 13 projects that produced or preserved 975 affordable units. There's a lot more that I could say about these topics, but I'm going to pause on this for now and just reiterate my 2 main points. I hope the Council will agree to the do no harm policy so that revenues are not reduced by adopting a growth and infrastructure policy that would cause that. And I also focus on the real issues surrounding housing in the county. I'm excited to share the news that 2 local economic development projects made the Washington Business Journal list of 10 noteworthy projects to watch heading into 2025. Our North Bethesda Metro Station development that is being anchored by the University of Maryland Institute of Health Computing, and our Viva White Oak project in East County. In Viva White Oak, which is located off Cherry Hill Road, could see 3,000 new residences and up to 3 million square feet intended for companies, retail, a hotel, and senior housing. They're also talking with Montgomery College about locating a campus there. This is the same property that sat dormant for years waiting for the owner to move forward with a project. Since new owners got control of the property earlier this year, plans have been forming and a groundbreaking could be ahead in 2025. Our North Bethesda Metro Station redevelopment, which we announced earlier this year in partnership with WMATA, will be the permanent home for the University of Maryland Institute of Health Computing. This graduate-level research hub focuses on life sciences and is expected to draw in companies from around the globe to work with the IHC. It's the kind of project that will increase our stature as a national center for life sciences, but a new community with housing, retail, and public space will grow up around it as well. Just this week, I attended a lunch with updates on the project for UMD system leaders. It is the first of many planned lunch and learn opportunities hosted by IHC to help life sciences and biohealth businesses use this asset. I look forward to updating you on progress made on those 2 projects, as well as others that we're working on. For our health report today, I joined Councilmember Kristen Mink, Novavax executives, and other community leaders to get an updated COVID-19 vaccination. We did it at the Giant on Cherry Hill Road in Silver Spring and received the Novavax version of the vaccine. It's the only one of the vaccines available in the United States that uses a traditional virus-blocking technology that is based on traditional practices. This is a protein-based vaccine, and it's made the way all of our childhood vaccines, such as those created to fight polio and measles were historically produced. I believe that all vaccines are safe and effective and critical to stay healthy. However, there are those out there who've been reluctant because of the distrust of mRNA vaccines. I hope this option will convince them to get vaccinated now and join the rest of us. I also think it's important to highlight that this life-saving work is being done right here in Montgomery County, based Novavax's headquarters. It is nice to think that this vaccine was created by fellow county residents. COVID-19 vaccines were a big reason our nation was able to end the emergency phase of the pandemic when we did. In the years since vaccines were introduced, we've seen deaths from COVID-19 decrease significantly. I'm proud to say that our community saw more than 90% or more than 1 million residents receive an initial protection. With each updated vaccine, though, fewer people have received their shot or gotten one for their children. Non-vaccinated patients have become the majority of severe COVID-19 cases in our hospitals. It is still circulating in our community, and it remains more deadly than the flu and is not something that is season dependent, like the flu. Please visit vaccines.gov to find out where you can take your shot. As you watch the leaves fall, and now that we're in October, I want to encourage you to participate in Walktober. It's a statewide focus led by local transportation agencies to promote pedestrian safety and commuting options. Walking is one of the simplest and most accessible ways to improve your health and connect with neighbors and reduce our reliance on cars. October also gives us the chance to highlight our commitment to enhance pedestrian safety and make walking a real option for more people. Montgomery County's Department of Transportation has advanced a number of projects to make the pedestrian system more accessible, including building new sidewalks and protected bike lanes. Just this week, Montgomery County was awarded $520,000 in federal funding to update the county's Vision Zero 2030 action plan. The money will help implement the Safe Turns demonstration project, which will test the use of temporary quick build materials to sharpen driver turns to reduce unsafe turning speeds at 100 crash-prone intersections. The federal funds will be complemented by $130,000 in a county match. We're grateful for the support of the Biden-Harris administration and our congressional delegation in securing this critical funding to make our streets safer. Wednesday also marked the 11th annual Walk Maryland Day. I encourage you to explore some of the trails near your home sometime this month. If you search social media with the hashtag WalkMaryland2024, you'll see everyone showing off the beautiful shores, farmland, and trails that make up Maryland. Next Wednesday, October 9th, I hope many families as possible can participate in Walk and Roll to School Day. All our area schools are encouraged to sponsor a Walk to School event and to register their event at walkbiketoschool.org. Then on Thursday, October 17th, MCDOT, our transportation department, will continue the emphasis on pedestrian safety by joining the Maryland Highway Safety Office and Howard County's Department of Transportation in a walk-and-hour. It will focus on getting kids to school safely. The more walkable we make our paths to school, the more it encourages children to walk or roll to class, thereby encouraging a healthy and active lifestyle from an early age. Grants are available to also facilitate planning, development, and implementation of projects and activities that can improve safety, mitigate traffic, reduce fuel consumption, and lessen air pollution around schools. I encourage you to seek out more information about the Sidewalks to Safety program through the MC.dot website. Visit Montgomery Parks for a list of walking trails throughout the county and plan a walk this October. This week marked the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, a holiday celebrating the Jewish New Year. I wish every family observing Rosh Hashanah a Shana Tova, and I hope we all have a peaceful New Year. That's a wrap up for today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll be back again next week.